Welcome back to the Starting Strength podcast, kind of here on a regular basis, hopefully. And we are fortunate to have with us today from theartofmanliness.com, Brett McKay.
Hey, Rip.
Brett, how are you, sir?
Doing
Appreciate
well.
you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to come down to Wichita Falls.
Oh, yeah, people always say that.
Oh, yeah.
With-
It's a
when you come
destination.
to Wichita
It's a
Falls,
destination
It's
location.
always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Gene's Tasty Burger was faster in their service, it'd be, you know, we could go over there here in just a minute and get a cheeseburger and be back by the time the seminar starts. Brett's here for the seminar this weekend. And, but we're not going to be able to do that because Gene's is just slow these days. So we'll figure something out. Right. Tacos, maybe. Listen, I think it would probably be of benefit to everybody watching this for me to ask you a little bit of background about the Art of Manliness.
Sure.
It's one of the more successful websites of its kind in the world. And what gets probably lost in the process, because you've got content coming up all the time and people get focused on the content instead of the guy that's putting it up. So what the hell is going on here? What possessed you to do this?
So I actually started the blog back in 2008 when I was a second-year law student. And it was just for fun, really. I had no intentions of this becoming my living. It's going to be an attorney doing oil and gas, probably. And the reason I started it because I was tired of all the other content being put out there for men. You know, I subscribed to Men's Health, read Esquire, and I was getting tired of, with Men's Health particularly, it was like every month it was the exact same thing. I knew there was going to be an article about six-pack abs.
Yeah.
You know,
Biceps,
of course.
There's always biceps.
Sex position tips.
Yeah. Oh, God,
the typical.
Because we don't know enough about that already.
I never understood that, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
why do I need these?
Is it that difficult? It's
these
just
individuals at this magazine telling.
Yeah, like
look,
Marcus Aurelius said it's friction and secretions. And
what they should call me.
They should call you.
They should call me and ask me instead of trying to tell me what to do.
Okay, there you go.
But, you know, and I'm sure most people that read that stupid thing feel the same way.
Yeah, and they're like, why am I reading this?
Why am I reading?
And, you know, and then the other men's lifestyle stuff out there, it was, you know, selling a lifestyle the average guy couldn't afford. And then the bottom line, it just didn't resonate with me. It's like, this isn't manly, right?
No, it's popular culture.
It's popular culture. And look, and even as a guy, like I was a law student, grew up in the suburbs. I knew I wasn't incredibly manly. I look at men like my grandfather, great-grandfathers. They were like game wardens, you know, Forest Service guys can go out in the mountains with nothing but a pack horse for 3 weeks and survive and come back. And what they were putting out there didn't resonate with me. So I decided, you know what? If they're not going to create the kind of stuff that I want to read, like I'll create the stuff that I want to read. I wanted to create the men's magazine that I wanted to read.
And this is entrepreneurship at its
exactly.
At its
you see a problem.
There's a problem. Here's a product I want.
Yeah.
It's not being offered to me for sale, so I'll create it.
That's exactly what I did.
And the best products in the market are that same way. They're created by people who perceive a demand that they themselves recognize and say, hey, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, bought a domain, cost me $10, bought hosting, started putting stuff out there. And what I found out is that a lot of other men felt the same way as me.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, Brett, I subscribe to these magazines. I'm tired of it. What you're doing is great. And honestly, it took off on its own. I haven't done any marketing, and it's just word of mouth. And by the time I graduated law school in 2009, I was earning enough revenue from advertising. I did a book that I was like, I could do this full time if I wanted.
Yeah, you don't need to go into a firm.
Exactly.
In a situation like that.
Exactly.
What rank? Last time I looked you up on Alexa, and granted, Alexa's not good numbers, but it's a useful kind of a big ruler if you want to look at the market. There's some problems with Alexa metrics, but you were like, what, 12,000
something
in
like
the
that.
world, or something like that. Some insane.
But yeah, right now we're at 12 million page views a month.
That's
and then beyond
good.
that, it's 800,000 Facebook fans, 250,000 daily email subscribers. Podcasts have 70,000 subscribers. YouTube channel with 400,000 subscribers.
And it's just you.
It's just me, and my wife helps me out, and then we also have a guy in Denver who works with us, and then just a lot of other people who have contributed to the site over the who they found the site, they believe in the message, and they want to contribute. Like, so for example, you did some. I guess.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of referrals and traffic and stuff from those videos that you and I did here in the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that last trip to Wichita Falls is a standout.
Oh yeah.
In your year.
In my year. I mean, like that was like the highlight. It was.
So Brett, what? And you know, I've written a couple of little pieces on this, and I think I sent you that one that I did at PJ Media recently about manliness. And granted, I was stealing your shit, okay, but I thought it was a good piece, and it's there. Manliness is an interesting topic. It's almost kind of strange for men to discuss manliness, but what the hell?
Well, I don't think it is strange. It's strange now, but if you go back hundreds of years ago, it wasn't strange. People talked about this all the time. They were self-conscious of it, and that's we'll talk about that a little bit too. Like where the inspiration from, or my content, or my idea of masculinity come from. It comes from ancient philosophers who sat around and talked about manliness.
Well, let's talk about that, since it's not fragile to talk about that. No. What do you think it means? What is the
all right,
and why is it more than that? Why is it important now?
Sure.
To just have this discussion.
Right. So I know you're a Norse guy.
You know.
You like
I like that kind of
companies
stuff.
called Asgard.
Right.
Well, I'm a Greek and Roman guy.
Right.
When I was an undergraduate at University of Oklahoma, I got my degree in letters, just connected with the classics department. So I took a lot of Greek philosophy, studied the history of Greece and Rome.
Greek, Roman, Norse.
It's all
on the same
wheel. Exactly. And one thing I took away from those classes that I read, they talk about manliness. Like they'll talk about how he had a manly character. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting though is when they talked about manliness, they had a different idea than us moderns have. Because today, I think if you ask most guys, like, what does it mean to be manly? They're going to tell you the typical, stereotypical crap, right? Sort of a cartoonish version of masculinity. Right. It means drinking beer, watching sports, that sort of crap.
Having an opinion on the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. Having a man cave on the Cowboys. Yeah.
Kind of stupid.
Yeah. But what they had in mind, like for the Romans, for example, their word for manliness is virtus. It's virtus. It's where we get our word
virile.
Virtue. Yeah, virtue.
Viril and virile.
Virile is another word for manliness. Right. Exactly. And the word for man in Latin is vir or vir, vir. Right, and for them, like, you weren't born a vir, you had to become one, right? So there's certain things you had to do, characteristics you had to develop. And what's interesting, the word for virtus is strength.
Yeah.
Strength.
Yes. Isn't it interesting how that keeps getting tied back into this model?
Yeah.
And the piece I did for PJ, you guys should look that up if you haven't read it already. Is basically that's what we're talking about, in that the recent lumber sexual phenomenon is interesting in that I think there is a need here amongst these 25-year-old guys to try to reclaim some of this thing, and granted, it's easier to grow a beard, in other words, to stop shaving, than it is to get your squat up to 405. But at least they are feeling
there's an itch that they want to scratch.
Right.
And I think what's happening is that, talking about the culture today, it's very androgynous, right? We don't like to talk about the differences between men and women, because that's bad. I mean, and what we talk about on the site, it's like, okay, men and women, they can do certain things the same, right? At a certain level in the business world, women are capable of doing things, but there are differences.
Yeah,
and
there are differences.
Let's not deny the differences.
And the popular culture, you mentioned that, it's every time I listen to the radio or you see a TV commercial, all of the advertising agencies are headed in the same direction with this. All of the guys that they use as characters in these commercials are either portrayed as bumbling idiots or opinionless fools, completely dependent on the female strong role model to complete their their capacity as a human being.
And what's interesting, this isn't a new phenomenon. I mean, if you can go back all the way to the 30s, like the Blondie comic, right? That's the whole. I mean, that's been around since the 30s, I think. That's the whole premise of it, right? Dagwood is this idiot who likes to eat, and Blondie's keeping the ship together.
Right.
So it's not a fairly recent phenomenon. It's been around for a while. It's just becoming more. You're seeing it more and more often now.
Broad market appeal.
Broad market appeal, exactly. So yeah, going back to the Romans, we're to strength, and that meant physical strength. And what they felt is that to be a man means to be physically strong, and that physical strength carries over into other aspects of your life.
Right.
It's
this
the
is
basis
the
of moral
theme that
character.
we have observed this for a long time. Is that me being in this business for almost 40 years now? One of the things that has always amazed me as I watch the progress of a young kid who comes in the gym. Who walks in whatever condition he's in, and 15, 20 years later, he's still training. And during the process of having gotten strong, everything has gotten strong. Not just his squat, not just his pulls. Everything has gotten strong. Everything has gotten strong.
The mind and the soul. I mean, I just did an interview with this guy. Did you watch Band of Brothers?
I've seen parts of the
miniseries. Well, there's a guy in there, Dick Winters. He was one of the commanders in Easy Company during the Band of Brothers. And so the guy I talked to, he helped Dick Winters write his memoirs before he died. And I thought this was really interesting. Dick Winters, the guy was just phenomenal. He was just a phenomenal leader. But he really hit on the point that physical fitness, physical strength was the basis of being a good leader, right? Because it carries over to other aspects. And what was crazy was, even when he was at training camp, he would run 2 extra miles, right? Because he didn't have to, but he wanted to do that. And even he was in the Battle of the Bulge.
And he wanted his men to know.
To see that, right? Exactly. Right. And even when he was in battle over in Europe, he still found time to take a 2-mile hike, maybe a 2-mile jog in the morning before the battle started, just to keep that discipline going. Because he felt that physical fitness, physical strength was the basis of just good discipline, and that carried over into the battle, helped him be a more effective soldier and warrior.
As an aside, my father was in the 101st.
Is that right?
He was in the Battle of the Bulge, Normandy, Market Garden. He was there. He was in the 502nd.
Jeez Louise, man.
And I've got some interesting mementos.
I bet you do.
Out at the house. We'll go out there one of these days.
Yeah. So that's my basis. That's my idea of manliness. It's taken from the ancients. This idea that's it's timeless. It's and what's interesting is that this idea of manliness, right? Manliness as being strength of stature, strength of character. It was around in the West. Well, like you could say even up to World War II. It wasn't until the middle of the 20th century where all these social upheavals happened and these changes happened where they started downplaying that, and that became a liability. And now there's all this confusion. Like, what does it mean to be a man? Like, everyone's writing these articles. No one really knows. You have 25, 30-year-old men who are looking themselves in the mirror saying, well, am I a man? I don't know if I am yet. And you had guys like Dick Winters during World War II. They're 26, and they were capturing, Hitler's eagle nest, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's, in my opinion, this type of behavior is buried in the DNA. It's been around for millennia. It's been around for tens of millennia. It's been around since organized human society. And the past 15, 20 years of popular culture is not going to be successful in making it go away.
No.
They can't. They're not going to get it done. No. It's buried too deeply in the species. And I just think I think what you're doing is really cool, and it really needs to be something that all of us pay attention to, and there are many lessons to be learned. You run a lot of good content on that website, and those of you, once again, that are not familiar with it, theartofmanliness.com, or is it Art of Manliness?
Either one will get you there.
Either one, okay. Either. Theartofmanliness.com, and we've enjoyed our relationship with Brett. Tell me how your training's going. You came down here and we worked with you and Jordan came down here with you to record that.
Right.
How is your training going? What are your numbers?
Well, that's what I'm doing. So, like, what happened was interesting story. So, when I did that, I went like straight starting. That was the first time. I've been barbell training since high school. Grew up in Oklahoma, like every good Oklahoma boy. I played football.
Oh yeah.
And so, we did the squat, bench, power clean, incline press. Didn't low bar squat. Your session there, that was the first time I actually low bar squat. And if you watch the video, it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot bad about it.
I had idiots commenting on that.
Yeah, I
Remember that? I had idiots commenting on that where they're calling me or writing me on the board, and they're saying, "Well, I saw you let Brett McKay put his thumbs around the bar, and you always bitch and moan about everybody putting their thumbs on top of the bar, but I saw you that day with Brett McKay, and he had his thumbs around the bar, and you didn't say anything to him about it. So how about that, Mr. Rippetoe?" So, yeah. But that's,
it was a short amount of time.
One problem
and we
at a
fixed
time.
one leg.
And I had to
learned about
explain
hip
this to
drive.
people,
I learned about hip
And that's the
drive.
primary message of the movement pattern.
So after that, I had a lot of great progress. I got up to 325 on my squat, but the problem was, because of the wrist, I was terrible bicep tendonitis. I mean, to the point where all day it was just...
Well, it's down here in your elbow.
Right there.
That's exactly what it's from.
Exactly.
Exactly
And
what it's from.
So then I took a break, because I was like, I got to let this heal up a little bit so I can get back. Because I couldn't even deadlift or bench press.
Right.
It was just terrible. And I got back into it. Same thing. I got up to 325. And then here's what happened. Took another break. I think you introduced me, or Matt Reynolds reached out to me. And he's like, hey, just a fan of the site, blah, blah, blah. And I had no idea he did online coaching. And I said, do you offer online coaching? Like, I just need someone to look at my form, right, to see what I'm doing wrong, why this bicep tendonitis. He's like, oh, yeah, I do. So I've been working with Matt now since October. And I send him videos of all my lifts so he can look at them and give me critiques that you're doing this wrong. And he fixed my bicep tendonitis. And here's what he did. So he did some protocols for me to like treat it and manage it so I can get through the pain and work out. What he did though, he noticed though, the way I set up was causing the bicep tendonitis. Because what I was doing, instead of starting off with my thumbs above the bar, wrist straight, and then getting under the bar, I was putting myself under the bar and then bringing my wrist, like cranking my wrist,
jamming this.
I was
loading. In other words, you're loading the elbow with the barbell.
Before I'd even get started on the lift. So he's like, "You're doing that wrong.
Right.
Do this." And ever since then, I haven't had a problem with it. So, well, with that said, now I've been doing programming with Matt. Squat. I did a 375 squat, 1 rep max with him.
Yeah, that's great.
For reps, I did 350.
What's your body weight do?
Body weight's 204. Now, before my first session, when he came down here, Wichita Falls,
you were like 180.
I was 185.
185.
Yeah, and then the second session.
You gained 18 pounds.
Yeah, I'm up to 204 now. Just interesting. When I played football in high school, I was 230 because I was a lineman. Then I decided I'm not a football player anymore, so I don't want to be big. So I just did the whole cardio thing. And
cardio is a problem for so many people.
And so I lost a lot of weight.
The premise that cardio is the basis of all exercise, that just won't die.
No.
It will not go away.
Yeah.
And I, try as we might, it's very difficult to denature an entire lifetime's worth of programming, in that running is the basis of all exercise. I mean, military, fire, police.
Yeah.
The PJs, the Air Force pararescue guys, their pipeline.
Yeah.
Even though everything they do in the field is based on the ability to move loads. They swim long distances. They run long distances.
Right.
That's their training, and nobody seems to understand that the vast majority of human tasks have nothing to do with a 5-mile run. It's all force production, it's strength, and this is a lot of deprogramming that has yet to be done, and the more of that we can do, the better.
Yeah. Ever since I've been working with Matt, the progress has been fantastic.
Well, I'm happy he finally did something right. So, you guys on Art of Manliness, has anything coming up? Any changes in the website coming up?
No, we don't
Any-
have any plans yet.
Planning
for
a
the
national Art of Manliness festival?
festival. Yeah, I've thought about that.
I think you ought to think about
Yeah, I
it.
think I should do that. Okay, we'll have
I
you
think
come
you'll-
out and do some
Be
demonstration.
glad to be there.
All
I really think that's a good idea, because anytime you give people who have a sense of association with each other because they read the website, anytime you give them a physical place to come and slap each other on the back and have a beer, you build a community, and a community is a good thing.
Oh, yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
one of the aspects of manliness, you know, is that men function within a community under normal circumstances. That role, or that model, is trying to be deconstructed right now.
Right.
And I'm not talking about a Promise Keepers retreat or some nonsense like that, but I mean a long weekend with speakers and rent a convention center. I think you'd be shocked at how successful it is and how much fun you have doing it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to do it. It'd be
We'll
a lot
talk
of work,
about that
and
further.
maybe we'll make it happen.
We'll talk about that
right,
further.
we'll talk about it.
Brett, thank you for being
Hey,
here. Brett McKay, Art of Manliness. And we'd like to thank you for watching our podcast. We'll see you next time.